The views and opinions expressed on Trudging Together are solely those of the host, co-host, and our guests. They do not necessarily reflect the views of any organization, fellowship, or other entity, and definitely not your boss, your neighbor, or that one guy in your home group. The content of this program is not intended to replace medical, psychological, or professional advice. If you're looking for that, please seek guidance from qualified professionals who spent way too many years in school. What you'll hear here is based on lived experience, recovery journeys, and the occasional bad coffee-fueled joke. Trudging Together is not affiliated with any 12-step fellowship. We are simply people sharing our stories and walking this path together, one day at a time. Thank you for joining us. And remember, recovery is serious business, but that doesn't mean we can't laugh along the way.
Yeah, got everything done just in time. Finished my sandwich, took my meds. Yeah, I'm pretty good at that. Good afternoon, Leisure. Good afternoon, Amber. Amber says about time. Yeah, I'm a little late. I do a radio show on Mondays. Take 12 radio. So, yeah. That worked out well today, huh? All right. It's Monday. Yep, it's Monday. Should be a pretty good show. It turned out well. We talked about when you're supposed to keep your mouth shut. But yeah, it gets interesting. I have a lot of fun hanging out with Roger and Monty. Monte, man. Monte. So, hi, Angel. Good to see you. Schmack. Schmack, schmack. My listeners were in therapy, silly. What are we even talking about today? Gosh, I don't even know. I don't know. What do I know? I know a little bit. But yeah. I mean, I could sit here and complain about a lot of things I'm saying, but I just really don't care. So let's do this. Let's go to joke time. Let's go there. I didn't have anything to talk about beforehand, so how about best one-liner dad jokes? How about that? So, Amber says I've been out of therapy for over an hour. Yeah, an hour and 20 minutes. Yeah. Wasn't that kind of me to let you kind of relax before I went live? See, I'm such a good guy. That was so kind of me. You little shit. All right, we're going to have to go down a little bit. Shout out to my fingers. Yeah, I can count on all of them. No, people say they pick their nose. You know, hey, quiet down there, crowd. Okay, I'm telling jokes here. You know, people say they pick their nose, but I feel like I was just born with mine. Thanks for putting that in there. I appreciate that. Amber's posting that I'm not. Anyway, if a child refuses to nap, are they guilty of resisting arrest? Thank you, crowd. Thank you. What country's capital is growing the fastest? Ireland. Every day it's Dublin. Yeah, it's Dublin. That city's always Dublin. I once had a dream I was floating in I was floating in an ocean of orange soda. It was more of a fantasy. All right, we're done. Hope you enjoyed those. Oh, you put it in the wrong one at first. That's all right. Everybody should know. Everybody should know Dion's live. So I got one portion of the big book I'm gonna read on this. I had ChatGPT help me with a few things. Good afternoon, Michelle. It was good to see you. So let's kind of get this started. I'm going to read out of the big book first, page 130. It's in the family afterward. All right. Let me do one quick thing. Give me. There we go. All right. We'll let it do its thing there, and we should be prepared. So, page 130 is where we're going to be the family afterwards. Those of us, actually, I would think we're going to go back a little bit. All right. Very bottom of page 129. Though the family does not fully agree with dad's spiritual activities, they should let him have his head. Even if he displays a certain amount of neglect and irresponsibility towards the family, it is well to let him go as far as he likes in helping other alcoholics. During those first days of convalescence, this will do more to ensure his sobriety than anything else. Yeah. So the alcoholic's not going to come back and just all of a sudden be a part of the family. They're going to need to find balance. Okay. Now, this can't go on forever. This can't go on forever. You've got to find that balance with, we didn't get sober so we could continue ignoring our children. We didn't get sober so that we weren't going to become a part of the family. But we've got to ensure our sobriety first, because without it, we're not very good we're not of much use to the family. We're not much use, or to anybody around us, really. Though some of his manifestations are alarming and disagreeable, we think that dad will be on a firmer foundation than the man who's placing business or professional success ahead of his spiritual development. He will be less likely to drink again, and anything is preferable to that. I think we could agree with that. Well, it depends too. I mean, if we've gotten rid of the alcohol, but we haven't done anything about it, we still got the same attitude. It's actually going to be it might be worse. Because at least the alcohol took away the stuff, or maybe who knows what it did. It's really going to be different for everybody. So find that balance. Find it. And I seem to notice people sway, right? So they either get into the program and they go to this extreme. Maybe it's the gym. Maybe it's making here's my chance to go make a lot of money. When really what we're looking at is we need to work on our spirituality first. See, when I work on my spirituality, everything tends to fall into place. So that's where I begin. Let's remember that before we got here, all of our best ideas did what? They got us here. All right. So, making sure that you have other people that knows what's going on with you. Try not to make decisions all by yourself. That's a good way. And find that balance too. Okay. So, to those of us who have spent much time in the world of spiritual make-believe, have eventually seen the childishness of it. All right. And what is a spiritual make-believe? Here I am asking myself a hard question. This is kind of a hard question. What is spiritual make-believe?
Spiritual make-believe.
You don't have to say it out loud. I can read. Thank you. Spiritual make-believe is a concept most notably from the philosopher Neil van Leeuwenhoek's book. That religious and spiritual belief as a form of imagination make-believe that is distinct from factual belief. Instead of being a literal factual account of the world, these beliefs function similarly to how children engage in make-believe play by creating a separate map or layer of reality to find values, groups, identity, and meanings. Whew! It sounds like a lot of work going into this spiritual make-believe. All right. Map cognitive structure. The mind operates with two layers of belief. Can we just get something short and example? There we go. Yeah, that's what I was looking for. Let's just get to these. Petitionary prayer. God, if you get me out of this, if you get me out of jail, I promise I won't do it again. God, if this, if that, our demands, all right? So it wasn't people may not have factual belief that prayer will change laws of physics, but engaging in make believe of prayer allows them to act as if they can and find me. This isn't quite what I was going for here, but it gives us a little bit. Um, Supernatural events. A spiritual make believe framework allows a person to see an ordinary event like a coincidence, a sign from a higher power without that belief being treated as scientific fact. Okay. So it's the scientific part of us. These other things, the relying on the belief of self reliance and those types of things, right? So essentially what they're saying is we grow up. Leisure says if you drink alcohol like I did, the only way to save me was complete spiritual cleanse. Thank God for the 12 steps. Yeah. And thank the 12 steps for God. All right. Higher power has made a huge difference in my life. So this dream world has been replaced by a great sense of purpose, accompanied by a growing consciousness of the power of God in our lives. Right? Now, what they just said, I didn't really appreciate what they said, by the way. All right. Because I don't know, I don't necessarily believe in coincidences. All right. I'm going to give you a good quote unquote coincidence. Right. So I reached out to this one person and asked, hey, do you know any place where I could start some AA meetings? Right. So one of the higher ups at Adams County, they're like, yeah, here's a couple of places. One of the places actually followed up with me, Community Reach Center. I ended up getting to know the person, the outreach person over there, right? And we get along really well. They have 14 years of sobriety. They understand what we're trying to do. And he even went a little bit further. He's like, we're going to give you the room for free. We're not charging you. We are a community reach center. We're a community center. And then insurance came up. We had forgotten about insurance. And he pays our insurance too, right? See, something's starting to happen here, all right? Then he moves into the CEO position. So now he's pretty much helping run it, right? And that gave us a big advantage. From there, they said, so we started the meeting on Wednesdays, 2:00. Not many people show up. It's okay because it still helps people. Watch what happens. Watch what happens. They said, Dion, we're going to open up this crisis center. We'd like you to be, involved, as a community member. About 4 weeks ago, I went to the grand opening, shook hands, rubbed the elbows, And what am I really doing here? I'm just spending a little bit of my time, right? And a few weeks ago, I stopped by there, and they say, "Hey, yeah, how you doing?" And we ended up talking for like 20, 30 minutes. They hand me a piece of paper about this, and they're like, "These people say they're starting a social detox." I'm like, "What's going on here?" When I hear weird stuff, I get a little weird, right? So I call for it to mention, no, they're not doing a social detox. I think the client that told them that messed up. And it turns out this is the kind of place that I will send people to. Yep. Uh, they don't make people buy their food. They don't make them. No. They don't even force you to go to work. They would rather that you worked on your spirituality first. Hallelujah, man. All right, help you find joy. It's what a sober living is. A couple weeks ago, my wife was out of town. I was going to pick up some ice and some cigarettes. I'm like, I'm going to the gas station. Might as well take my car because I don't have any gas. I'm like, I don't know. I'm just supposed to take my wife's car. So I took my wife's car, which I usually don't do because I like driving my car because it's a little vroom vroom. I look cool in it. Stereo's a little loud. Reliving some glory days there. All right. Nice car. I know. Thanks. Right. So I go to grab the ice. Right. I paid for it first. Go to grab the ice. There's a guy sitting there, sitting next to the building, and I can tell him, yeah, he's homeless. And all I did was say, "Hey, how you doing?" Right. Make a longer story short. Two people that were homeless hadn't done meth for 4 or 5 days. They didn't want to go to meth. They were sitting over there because they were going to go. What they were getting ready to do was getting ready to go sell their plasma, and I knew that because I kind of go over there because of the plasma bank because people tend to hang out there that I can help. All right, didn't quite connect that. Didn't quite connect that until I saw these quote unquote coincidences happening. Long story short, they're still there. I took them over there. They got to spend time as a couple. They get to live a better life, and things are already going better for them. All right. I've been given a couple of updates. Now, none of that would have happened if I wouldn't have asked my friend Emma if there was a place I could start AA meetings. Do you think that story is a total coincidence? Because to me, it sounds like it's all grounded in fact. Fact of the matter was I was willing, and that's what it led to. It's led to a lot more than that. But that is one thing in particular. And this stuff happens to me all the time. Yeah. So I no longer play in a spiritual kindergarten. I did in the beginning, and it's okay. If that's where you're going to start out, fucking awesome. Do it. For me, my higher power is my father. He's the father. I got that from the big book because I didn't really have a man that raised me. Well, who needs a father? Well, a child does, because I am still a child of God, right? I may be 55, but in some aspects, I'm still very much childish. I would have to admit that. All right. So now we have a great sense of purpose accompanied by the growing consciousness of the power of God in our lives. We have come to believe he would like us to keep our heads in the clouds with him, but our feet ought to be firmly planted on earth. Okay. Now they are partially talking about the pink cloud. If you came into the program and you did the work and a lot of the promises came true to you, let me put it this way: when I came back in, because and I need to say this out loud because I did the math. For years, I've been saying that I had 12 years of sobriety. It was 10, and I need to bring that up. I don't really feel like I'm lying but it was incorrect. Right? It was incorrect. So we're gonna go with 10. Right? So I had 10 years of sobriety, and I went back out. When I came back in and did the work, the pink cloud didn't happen. It didn't happen to me. So just as a heads up, it may not happen. Okay. Because what is a pink cloud is experiencing something new, right? It is experiencing something new. And you can't experience something new twice. Now, my drinking was based on this. When I was 13, now I'm wondering if I was even 13. Well, it might have been 14, but gosh, I don't even know anymore. When I was younger, and the first time I drank around other people, because my drinking career started with 2 beers when I put the kids to bed, and that wasn't a big deal. I got a little buzz out of it, but you know, anyway, right. So I didn't have many friends. I didn't have any friends until this point. And they started drinking. Oh, Dion's kind of cool. Dion's this. Yeah. Oh, we didn't know that. Okay. I was finally at 13, 14. I was finally accepted for something. Finally. I've been trying for years to be normal, to be a part of, but even this is something that I found later on would separate me. But it was so invigorating, so exciting, and such a big deal that I thought I found my answer. and I would chase that drunk for the rest of my life, never to find it again. Because you can't experience something new twice. I would even use other drugs to try and find that spot. Sometimes I would come close, but never quite there, right? So we ought to keep our feet firmly placed on the ground. There's nothing wrong with a pink cloud. I've been hearing some people kind of bashing on pink clouds. No, no, no. Oh, well, you go out and drink on pink clouds. No, not always. It's a new and exciting part of life. Just be careful. Because usually the pink cloud comes with shoving what you know down other people's throats. All right. You go around buttonholing everybody with your excitement. All right. You'll stand on the roof and shout good tidings. All right. Nah. You'll start the day, you'll start a daily trudge. All right. We're having some fun here. All right. Why else? Why else should our feet firmly be placed on the ground? Because that is where our fellow travelers are, and that is where our work must be done. All right. So you might be elevated, but if you have a new person, do you think they're going to be up here with you? You think they're no, 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 no. You're going to kind of have to tamper that a little bit boop, 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 so that you're at that level. That's what we're talking about. See, the work isn't done in the clouds. That's where the peace and kind of serenity stuff is. But we are down here on earth, right? So we meet people where we're at. And what are we doing? We're just sacrificing a little bit of something so that we can be a better use to people. Because when I get like overly excited, man, oh, I don't find it's hard for me to find balance when I'm really excited. Just another thing that we're working on, right? That is where our and that is where the work must be done. These are the realities for us. We have found nothing incompatible with a powerful spiritual experience and a life of sane and happy usefulness. You can also very much believe in science and believe in a higher power. In fact, science is bigger than you, right? So, this happens in a lot of different areas, right? It starts in step 2, where we move from vague spiritual ideas to a spiritual experience, something that is a little more solid, right? Because faith is believing in something you cannot see, touch, or feel. Well, you can feel it and you can see it, you can touch it, just depends on your perception, right? Here's a big one. Things like grass will turn green. Yeah. Even the way you see things literally is going to change. Because when you drink that little fog, I saw it in a fog. Everything had what I called the Star Trek haze. You remember the first original series where they put that haze around women to make them look more angelic? That's how I saw everything. Okay. Grass was not green. It was a weird brown hue. And there's a lot of reasons for that. Okay. So the forest for the trees. You understand that you've been looking at this forest your whole life, and you've always thought that one tree right there in the middle that's all disformed and doesn't look like the others is the ugly part of the forest. But without that tree, none of it would be there. That the beauty is in the abnormal, in the sick, right? Another big one, letting go of self illusions, right? Now, on a physical part of this, because remember, everything that we utilize affects us mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. Most people go with the mental, emotional, physical. But for us, we have that spiritual portion too, right? When you drink, it, just real quick, because I say it a lot. I'm kind of tired of repeating it. But when you drink, you don't dream. When you don't dream, you don't rem. And when you don't rem, you you make shit up. you go crazy. Yes. Lack of sleep. That was our dilemma. You want to know when that first night's sleep usually happens? Within 28 days. How long's treatment? 28 days it's a number that is used. Okay. Insurance pays for 28 days. That's why treatment is 28 days, because they figure you're well in 28 days. What it is you are physically okay within 28 days. That's what they're going after. Insurance doesn't pay for spirituality. All right. So becoming open to a higher power, to a real higher power. And what's the first step in that? Well, I've got to stop playing God first. I have to stop fighting. And I'm finding even more and more how much I need to stop fighting. Yeah. I've done my advocating. It's kind of over with. I am moving into something. I think you guys are gonna like it. Amber's really gonna like what I want to do next. You're really gonna like it, Amber. We're gonna be I'm gonna go to this virtual conference in January. It's called Came to Believe. And what they do is they take people through the steps in 2.5 days, like it was originally done. And I have not experienced that before, so I'm going to go and experience it. I was going to ask Amber to kind of do it with me, but there are people that need to be helped. I feel like I would just be being selfish and not wasting her time, but time she could have used spending it on somebody who really needs help, if that makes sense. All right. Replacing fantasy with a workable faith. See, I've always believed in God. How I utilize how I utilize it is much different now, though. Right? See, I don't have to beg God to get me out of jail anymore. You want to know why? Because I don't do stupid shit to put me in jail anymore. Thank you, God. That's how I end up not in jail. I don't do illegal stuff. Weird. Weird. Leisure says, after my fourth and fifth steps, I realized the sky was actually blue. True story. Yeah. Yeah. No, we're not kidding. Alcohol affects every part of your body. Every part. That includes your eyes, your ears, your nose, your senses. Mm. So, all right. And chapter 4, I mean, the chapter is all about going from make believe spirituality to something grounded and real. And we need that, right? Like the first higher power I picked was Batman. Okay. Now let's just call a spade a spade. It was immature. It was spiritual kindergarten. They're like, you could start anywhere. And I knew, what was I doing? I was just wanting to be terminally unique. Okay. I was 18 at the time. Let's remember, I was still physically immature, right? Angel says, this sounds weird probably, but I went through all of my steps very quickly with God. But right away, I went through them more slowly and detailed with sponsors. A lot of people go through that. Yeah. It's not, Bill went through it. That's exactly how Bill got sober. A lot of people are struck sober that their program starts with the spiritual experience. Absolutely. It's described in the spiritual experience. And then they go through the steps right? So that, yeah, happened to Bill, happened to a lot of people. Still does. Thank you for bringing that up. All right. All right. Oh, we already read all that. That's why. Then in step 3, we end self-delusion, self-will, and spiritual fantasy by accepting God direction instead of acting from ego. We do that, you know, and that speaks directly to purpose, direction, and God consciousness. So what does it say? Being convinced. Being convinced. And what is that? Well, it's spirituality. It's a spiritual awakening in motion. That means it is currently happening. Wow. Now, I tell you something. Just like happiness, spiritual experiences only happen at one point. Right now. You if you want a spiritual experience, if you want to see the world for what it is, you've got to live in the now. It's hard to do. It's hard for I should just say it's hard for me to do. Right. And then of course in step 11 where we develop a conscious contact with God. Now, if we're going to do the steps that and I dare I say it the right way by going through them quicker, that's how it's explained in the big book. Right? Yes, we get to do different things, but if I want to, you know, that's how they did it back then. You did the steps in a matter of a week, man. We did not mess around. You think you got time to write your 4 step? No, it was sit down, write your 4 step. Let me know when you're done. I'll bring you coffee. Using a spiritual connection as a guide to practical everyday life. Yes, I depend. I was just talking with Sponsy on Saturday, and their wife had to go to work, but he wanted to get the oil changed real quick. All right, so that was his plan. He said, "Dion, I swear to God, I hit every single red light along the way, and all I could hear was you saying, 'I thank God for red lights.'" I've been so it was my voice in his head, which I think is just funny. He said, "I got there, I saw it, I accepted it, I told God thank you for giving me those red lights." And did wouldn't you know, green light all the way back. And he said, so I heard him. And the answer, and what he was trying to tell him was, slow the fuck down. Slow down. All right. Michelle says, I've been working on living the day. Yeah, living in the day. It's not an easy proposition. Okay. For me, I had to practice it a lot. And I can't even say that because I'm still practicing it. Right. Leisure says, I had an online interaction with a guy who was in recovery, but he was also a step and sponsor denier. Yeah. But, you know, let's talk about that a little bit because I've been seeing a lot of AA bashing. I have. Okay. Now, I am not upset with the people bashing AA. That's what does it tell me? It tells me they had a bad experience in AA and something happened, man. You know, I went and started my own AA meeting because I got tired of going to the crap AA meetings in Colorado. I got tired of it. Couldn't take it anymore. I needed solution based recovery. I need people that are moving forward in life, that are taking this shit really seriously and aren't just holding a meeting so they can be the center of attention. If you want to be the center of attention, go do a daily trudge, go live, go do that. It doesn't belong in the AA meeting. Okay. And I know sometimes I come pretty close to, you know, like I'll go to say something in chat. I'm like, Dion, can we listen? Let's do that. Okay. All right. Um, and it's the same stuff. They tell me what to do. They tell me I have to believe this way, that I have to believe that way. No, that is not how we do things in AA. And I've met a lot of people, a lot of people. A couple of them are in this group. Angel says I love AA, but I don't love shitty people in meetings. Yeah. So, and I'm kind of particular on my meetings. But if Amber or Angel or Leisure or Michelle sends me something and says, I'm going to this meeting, you should check it out. I trust them. I trust them in that. And I will go. Mm, yeah. So there are a lot of great AA meetings out there. There's a lot of great celebrate. There's a lot of really good stuff out there. There really is. Um, So I'm going to make a blanket apology to those that have been abused in AA. I'm sorry that happened to you. I will let you know that if I was there, I don't think I would have allowed that to happen. But now I'm going to challenge you to come to grassroots and see what it's actually about because I don't want you out of AA. I want you on that, not even just AA, anything. I don't, you know. Um, a lot of people are catching on to grassroots. Okay. Now, the thing about grassroots is if you go, you better be ready to be moving forward in your life. You're not going to last very long. Not that we're going to run you out, just that we're going to give it to you straight. All right. Somebody had made a mistake. All right. And it happens, man. Okay. It was a mistake. And the legit, even the thought processing is legit to me because I'm an alcoholic. Okay. Our rule in grassroots is that you have to have 30 days of sobriety. You take that a couple of ways. So now we have to put continuous in front of that to kind of take care of that. Okay. Now, what had happened is they had drank, but they didn't reset their date because, well, fear, the stigma, the fear, and all the other bullshit. I understand why. Right. Then they admitted it. So we had to make some changes in the group. Right. Okay. This is what we kind of need to do so we can reinforce because really it wasn't this person slipped is like okay, what can we do so that if it happens again they feel comfortable enough to come talk to us so that they're not going to feel ostracized. That's the solution. And they even stayed in the group conscious, listen, and they felt very very guilty about it. I get it, I'm an alcoholic, I feel guilty about stuff too, right? But then they understood that their mistake made something correct. There we go. There we go. See, that's what we're about. That's what we need to be. We are not witch burners. How can I sit there and point the finger at you when I was a chronic relapser myself? Right? Leisure says, I thank my God that he wasn't drinking no matter how he did it. Yeah. And then he says, shitty people in meetings is a reason why I stopped going in persons. But I also know that I only get out of the meetings when I allow myself to get out of the meeting. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. There's two things there, right? So it can also be my if I go in, this is what Leisure's saying. If I go in with a shitty attitude, I'm gonna get shit. Okay. If I go in with a good attitude, I'm probably gonna need what I hear. Okay. So, yeah. Are there people tend to think that they go to AA and they're not going to be judged. It's a room full of judgmental people. It's something that we have to work through. But yeah, the shitty, crappy stuff now, yeah. So these are a little separated, but they do kind of go together. It's hard because I don't want one person here to think I'm taking a side or anything like that. But we do need to discuss the whole thing. And if I sat here and said every AA meeting was great and safe, it'd be a fucking lie, right? But I'm a proactive person, so that's why I started a meeting. Now, it has been weeks now since anybody said Dion's meeting. Yes, thank you. Thank you. It is no longer, yeah, there's no more default Dion, any of that. People are picking the stuff up. So it does move past. All right. I've started meetings before, and I know the one mistake is a lot of people make is this. They try and hold on to it thinking that they're the leader of the group. I'm not the leader of a group. I'm just another person in the group trying to be a good example. Yeah. Angel says, sorry, not sorry, but I absolutely refuse to put myself in an abusive environment. They're two different things. That's what I was trying to say. All right. There, yeah, I get it. The man that raised me went out of his way to fucking hurt me. I understand. I get it. Right. So, what do we have? Oh, we have a new sense of purpose. We have a new connection with the world and the people around us. Then we start having real usefulness, replacing the fantasy or self-focus, and then a big one: sanity is returned. Yay, sanity! So, all right. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I appreciate it. I love you. You know I do. Peace out and keep on trudging.